excited to share with you Aisha, my new friend Aisha. We have met, our paths have crossed because we're on this similar path to being an expat and making this very, very large change in our lives. And basically to lead that charge as women. And so I'm not going to give you too much because I really want her to tell her story. But we're going to talk to Aisha and she'll let you know how things are going 2 months into her being an expat. Hi, Aisha.
Hey, not even 2 months. Like I'm still I'm just past the 6 week mark, I think. And it is everything. Like we will have plenty of time to talk about the particulars, but there's a lot to share. It is a big, brave, and bold decision.
Yes.
And beautiful.
And that's what I think that's what drew me to you, obviously, is that we had that connection of doing something outside. And I don't know if you're the first in your family. I know for me, yes.
100%. Yes, yes. I'm the first on multiple accounts. So yeah, yeah. This
Yes.
is yeah. I'm definitely the first. I'm a big dreamer,
Yes.
but this is even big for me.
For
Like this
you.
is a big move for me.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's the thing is like, at least I don't know how it is for you, but for me, I had to build up to the point that I was like, I can do even bigger things. Like I did a little few things like that were small. And then over time, I built up my resistance to that fear. And
Mhm.
so now I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna try something a little bit bigger. I think we can do better than that. Not necessarily better. I think we can expand
Yeah,
our
yeah,
vision of what we can accomplish in our particular life. So
yeah.
can you share with the audience how you got to this point? I mean, you have had a path that is, full of change, full of like, I know that you were like, seem to be successful where you were.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people look at that from the outside and they're like, there's no reason that she needs to change because
Yep.
things look good. She's
Yep.
got what everybody else is wanting to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you kind of tell the audience a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I think I actually think about change and growth probably a little bit differently. Like I think we are here to evolve. Like we are actually not here to reach a certain level and then settle in
Oh, yes.
because we are growing, evolving beings. And so the idea that I could be successful as like the VP of fundraising for the nonprofit where I worked before, and then I could be successful in starting my own business.
Yes.
Those are things that grew my tolerance for change,
Right.
that grew my muscle for being able to navigate uncertainty.
Mhm.
Um, but they were never intended to be the end. And so for me, even this move, like this is just a part of my journey. Who knows
Yes.
what happens after this? Um, but because I think of it that way, I don't avoid change. I don't get stuck or I'm not like afraid of it.
Yes. Yes. But
Yeah.
but I but you're but that's honestly I feel like that's the key because a lot of times we've defined ourselves in one way. Maybe
Hmm.
we've defined what our life is supposed to look like in one way, and not just for a season, like forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you allowing yourself to be in that space of like, this is good, and I can do this, and I can do this just for now. And I
Mhm.
expect it to be temporary,
Whatever it is. And I think
whatever
it's
it is.
it almost lets us off the hook. Like sometimes when we feel like we have to make decisions that are forever,
Yes.
we
Yes.
feel like we have to engineer, like make sure we have all the T's dotted, all the T's crossed, all the I's dotted, everything has to be perfect.
Exactly.
But if we look at it as if this is just for a season, this is just a right now decision. And I think growing up, we like my dad worked at the post office, right? And he was like, it was secure. You
Oh,
knew that you would always have a job at the
exactly.
post office. And
Exactly.
so growing up in that space, doing something like this doesn't feel stable. This doesn't feel secure,
It
but,
doesn't.
it's living. Like it's
Yes.
a different thing. Like for my dad's generation, he needed that security, or so he thought. And I
Exactly.
watched, was like, that's secure, but you're not living.
Exactly. Exactly. Like our focus became security,
Yeah.
not living, right?
Yeah.
And I think you're right. We're very much caught into that still now, which is looking for that security because we know
Because
nothing
it's
is
not
secure.
secure.
It's not secure.
Not
But we're
secure.
looking for it and we're still craving it and we're still kind of in that same mindset of it needs to be secure because what if something happens? But in actuality, things are always happening. Things are always changing. Even in that what you think secure is environment, we've always dealt with things, right? I know even for me having a like stable job and things like that, it's not like that I wasn't dealing with things or had challenges to overcome.
Yeah. No, we tolerate change within the space where we're comfortable, right? Like if we know what the job entails, we're like, oh, we can just tolerate the change that happens here.
Yes.
But then when
Yes.
we step outside of that space, we almost forget that we know how to navigate change. We forget all the change that we've been through up until this point. Those are skills and muscles that we have access to and can use anytime in any context. So
I love
I'm
that
gonna
because
get
you
out
said
there. Like get
we, we
out.
we forget, but no, but it's so true. We forget, and I think part of that is like on the grander scale, we forget that we are that resilient and we've been through, but we also forget that most likely the situation we're in. I know a lot of times we look back and we're like, oh, we have been a victim of these things, and I say it from this standpoint of we don't know how much power we have in the situation we currently are living in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We think it's like all these things are happening to me, not that I'm allowing these things or that I'm making choices to keep myself where I am.
Mhm.
So it's very important, like you were talking about, to allow ourselves to pivot because we can choose that instead of allowing someone else to choose that for us. I think that's a lot of times that's what happens, right? You move for a job, you get laid off, you do something else, this, that, and the other. But that's like allowing somebody else to
Yeah.
decide your path.
I sometimes liken it to like letting somebody else drive the bus and then being upset where the bus takes you, right? Like at any moment, you can get off the bus. You can decide, I actually don't want to ride bus 713 anymore. I want to ride bus 351. And
Mm-mm.
let me try. And if I'm gonna get on that bus and see how I feel about it, I'm gonna engage with the people on the bus. And then if I decide
Exactly.
I don't want to be on that one anymore, guess what? I can get off of that one too and catch the next one.
And
Right?
catch the next one.
We have
No.
so much more control, and
Yes.
not control as in like we can decide how everything goes, but we have so much more
No.
control about how we respond to things than I think we
Exactly.
give ourselves credit for.
Yes, I would totally agree, and I love the bus analogy because it just reminds me of one time when I was traveling and doing a solo trip in Mexico, and I did get on the wrong bus. But it turned out to be a beautiful experience. I got on the bus that I thought was going to stop at a particular at the pyramids, like it was supposed to be like stop at the pyramids and continue on to this other small city. Girl, this was a direct to the city. I did not know that. I didn't read it correctly.
All pyramid, other things.
And then I'm on the bus and I'm just riding and I'm like, I think we were supposed to turn right there. I'm pretty sure because I see the sign that we were supposed to turn right there. And I'm like, well, it is what it is, right? So I end up at the small town, had a beautiful day trip
Mm-hmm.
that was not planned, right? And went to see somewhere that was not even on my radar. But by going with it and allowing like it is what it is, I could, I could get the bus back. I knew how to get back home, but
Yeah.
allowing that extra journey, that extra step.
Well, and you know what? Sometimes, like you even allowing what is to be is part of it. But sometimes we get so busy into like judging ourselves and beating ourselves up and being angry about the situation we're in, we can't even experience the moment, right? Like we miss the bus or we get on the wrong bus and we're like, I can't believe I did that. I'm
Oh, yeah,
not paying attention. I'm so this.
that's
And you're
very true.
missing all the people you have the opportunity to engage with on the bus. You're missing all of the things you're not being able to see out the window of this experience
Yes,
because you're holding on to what you thought it needed to be.
exactly. Exactly. The ideal of what it would mean to be. And I think
Mhm.
that's important. Like you just made this big shift to moving to another country. A lot of times we have expectations of what that's going to look like. Even if we get to the point that we have made the decision. We have an idea of what it's supposed to look like. But I think you want to talk a little bit about that expectation, that written expectation we have, or the fantasy.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of an outlier in that, like, I had no expectations. Like,
Oh,
the only thing I expected from this move was that it was different
okay.
and that the pace of life was more aligned to how I wanted to live. The particulars, the
Yes.
details, I mean, I came sight unseen. Like, I had never been to Lisbon. I had only done a little bit of research, but I really just followed my gut. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I have real peace about this. Like, I have peace that doesn't make much sense. And I've learned that that means something.
That
Right?
means something.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think it's for you saying that I felt like it's maybe easier for you to achieve that peace because, like you said, your expectations are, well, of what you need to get out of it or what you're expecting are very low. Like if you have two things on the list, it's easy to, I feel like it's easier to make whatever your experience is fit in that.
Into that because I'm open.
Right?
You know what? I think that comes from, like, I consider that surrender, right? I
Okay.
call that surrender. It's
Yes.
where I I believe that, like, what is meant. And
Yes.
it's not my job to force it, but to just
Mhm.
allow it, right?
Yes.
And so when I was moving here, I was like, I don't need to know all
Okay.
the things.
Yes.
I just need to know that this is what is meant for me right now.
Hmm.
When I get there, I will find out why. I'm excited to find out why.
You're
I'm like, oh, what's here in Lisbon for me? What's here for my kids? What's here for my relationship with my partner? What's here for my business? Like, I'm
right.
open. Like,
Yeah.
there's an openness that feels very different than needing it to be just so. Because when you need it to be just so, you get here and one thing that's off, it throws you all off.
But that's the thing. That's what I see is I feel like people are searching because they have that list and not
Mm,
everything is checking mark. And like you said, one thing is like, this is not the place. Or going back to what you were saying before, I made a bad decision.
yeah.
And I don't like to phrase it that way. That's what our mind says.
Oh, yeah.
But I
Mhm.
say you made a decision. This is just, it's not, we're framing it bad and good based on what our mind
It's
is
just
telling us, right?
a decision. It's
You
just
made
one
a
decision.
decision. It's just a decision, right?
And you
So,
can change your mind. You can
mm,
make another one, right? Like,
yes,
you made a decision, and if you don't like that one, or if you have new information and you wanna make another decision,
exactly,
you get to make another decision.
exactly. So, I guess how do women that are watching, how do you get to that point that you allow these things for yourself? Because we have so much buried training, honestly, of like you said, allowing ourselves to what we consider, and I call it learning lessons, but we see it as failure,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And not being able to explore and not having flexibility in our lives because we're seeking so much of this security or false sense of security. How do we move into the space, the mindset that you're talking about, where we really have lower expectations overall because we're allowing things to come into our lives and
Mhm.
to help define that path and instead of us like grabbing so tough onto it to try to maintain control? How do we move into that?
And there are 2 things that come to mind. The first is, I think there's a core belief that our desires are given to us for a reason, right? So and you can't even allow yourself to dream big
Right.
if you are squashing or silencing your desires.
Hmm.
And so I always invite people to just try on the belief for a second
For a second.
that everything you want is coded to you just like your DNA. Like,
Mhm.
coded in your DNA are the desires that are meant for
Okay.
you to live like the full expansive life that you want for yourself. And if we try that on for a
Right.
little bit and then give our desires space to come up, like, I'm here because I sat down and I was like, what do I want? What do I want my life to look like?
Yes.
What kind of parent do I want to be? What kind of partner do I
Mhm.
want to be? Like, how do I want to live? And then I just listen to myself.
Yes.
Like, I don't even know that we give ourselves space or
Hmm.
permission to dream, because sometimes we think dreaming is frivolous and it's for those people over there, or it's for people who have this much money, or for people who come from this background. I'm
Exactly.
like first in my family to graduate from college. I mean, I grew up in all the little black parts of Houston, Texas. My mom was a hairstylist, my dad worked at the post office. By all accounts, I don't fit the mold.
Right.
And
Whatever that mold is. But see,
whatever
that's
the mold is,
whatever that
yeah.
mold is, because it's defined by each different person. Like my view of who should have certain things is very different than what other people would say, right? Maybe somebody, like you said, oh, they can do those things because they have a college degree or whatever. That may not be on my list, but it's on somebody else's list. So there is no boundary. there is no
None. But
qualification. There's
none,
no qualification.
right. And if you're like, oh, when whoever was making me, like whatever you subscribe to, whenever I was
Yeah.
created, just like those Build-A-Bears, and the Build-A-Bear, you can stick the little heart inside the Build-A-Bear, and it's unique to that bear.
Yes.
My desires, your desires were coded to you. That means if you allow them, then you get to experience a life that is uniquely yours.
Yes.
You can go wherever you want to go. You can build the kind of relationships you want. You can do whatever it is that you want to do, because it's meant for you to do those things.
Exactly. Exactly. I think, I talk with some of my girlfriends, other girlfriends, and they tell me we talk about the not asking the question. Like how you said you sit and you're like, what are my desires?
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't even they
Yeah,
they don't stop enough and don't have enough space enough to
yeah,
stop and ask that question.
yeah, yeah. I'm I'm a big advocate of space.
Yes.
And I know we all say, "Oh, well, I don't have time. I don't have time to
We
take
never have time.
space.
We always say we don't have time.
We don't have time, we don't have space, we don't like, I've got these responsibilities, I have
Mhm.
this job, I have." And my response to that is like, your sole responsibility is to be a good steward of your life first,
That part.
right? When you
That
when
part.
you're a good steward of your life,
Yeah.
then you can be a good steward of your relationships, of your responsibilities. But if you're not a good steward of your life, you get nothing. There's no return on investment in that.
Mm-mm.
That's your
It's
number one responsibility.
and it trickles over, like you said, it trickles over into your relationship. I mean,
Mhm.
if all of these things, your person is not feeling
Whole.
fulfilled,
If you
right?
hear
It's not
me.
whole. You can't build these other relationships that you want.
Mm-mm.
You can't give to humanity in the ways that you have gifts that you have no idea that you have, right?
Mhm.
You can't do that because everything is just buried under this, like you said, this fractured piece of ourselves, the pieces of
Mhm.
ourselves. So it's so important to create that whole person. And I just wanted to let the audience know that that's. Can you talk a little bit about how you shifted from a different background into actually helping other women do that?
Mm. Um, this is a little tricky, because I think I was always a coach. Like, I was always interested in listening to people and
Ooh,
hearing what they really wanted and
yes,
helping them move in that direction. And I just did it in various fields up until I was ready to do it in this way.
yes.
So I started in education, right? And if you asked me back in 1999 when I first started teaching, like, why are you teaching? And I was like, because I need kids to know that they can do whatever it is they
Do
really want
yes,
to do.
yes.
I need kids to learn to listen to themselves
Hmm.
after what they want, which is the exact same thing that I was doing when I became like a parent coach. I was working with parents to navigate their school choices. And I was like, what you're really asking me is, how do I be the parent I want to be? So let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
When
Yes,
I went into fundraising in the nonprofit space, it was, let me listen to donors and hear what kind of impact they want to make and help them match their intentions with their dollars. So
exactly.
it's really, I look at it as like, oh, I was learning the skill
Yes,
of practicing my gift with
Mm-hmm.
different audiences. Like I was doing it with kids, I was doing it with parents, I was doing it with high net worth individuals because I needed all of those skills in this space where I'm working with women who are successful. Like they are high on
Yes.
the ladder. They are like, you know,
Mhm.
they're making the money, they have the jobs, they've got the house, and they're looking around like, is this what I want?
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Or did I create someone else's vision for me?
oh, hello. And we do that, right?
We
Like
do that. We do
we
that.
we have been we've inherited other people's visions for our lives. Like
Mhm.
we inherit our parents' visions. Like, oh, my mom didn't get to realize this part of her vision, so she just handed it
So
to
she
me.
just exactly.
She handed it, or this was her belief about what success looked like, and
Mhm.
so she passed that on to me. And so I've spent
Exactly.
all this time. I'm going, you know, I'm going. I didn't go to law school, but like, you know, going to law school,
Right.
going to do these things, and now I'm in this role, and I'm like, but is this my life?
Exactly.
And I have women who come to me and they're just like, I'm at that stage where I'm starting to think about the second half of my life and I'm
Exactly.
wondering, is it mine?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm
It's
like, let's go.
let's
Let's go.
you're
Let's
like,
do
that's where you start. Ask that
it.
question.
Yeah.
Is this what I intentionally meant to build for my life? Like, did I do it with
Let's
intention
do
or
it.
did I just fall into this? Like,
Yeah. Well, and part of it is like, did I fall into it? And honestly, I don't even care about that part. What I care about is like, what does your most expansive, unleashed, abundant life look like?
mhm.
And just holding space for people to listen.
Yes.
Not to me, not to the boss, not to the parents, not to the children, but just to listen to themselves so they can hear the answer to that question.
You know what? I feel like it's that's what we need to do. And I feel like for me, and I'm speaking personal experience, it takes a constant effort to dig up all of those things that have been implanted, right?
Mhm,
To
mhm,
be able to hear my true voice because
mhm.
there's still so much of the like buried deep. Like maybe it's a fear. Maybe it's a like, oh, this is the way I think about my abilities. That's not me,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
That's somebody else's. I do a thing called with my group, it's called the belief audit.
Hmm.
And I liken it to having a house that you own.
Hmm.
Walk into your house and your parent is there and they brought her friends, and the boss is there and he brought his friends, and the supervisor's there and she brought her friends, and all these people are in your house and you didn't invite anybody, and you can't do anything in your house because you've got all these people crowding your space. And I was like, our beliefs are like that.
Yes.
Like it's our brain and it's our heart,
Hmm.
and we are, you know, trying to squeeze ourselves in between the beliefs that we've inherited from other people. And we have to stop and audit our beliefs. We
Yes.
have to
We
ask
have.
ourselves, if this is the life I want to live, which of these beliefs have to go in order for
Yes.
me to get there?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I completely agree. Completely agree. I think in that transition from going from, okay, this is what everybody else gave me, and then I'm going to share that, and I'm going to try
Wow.
this. I'm going to,
Y'all gotta get out. This is my house. This
like,
house, this life is mine.
like, y'all have to get out. Y'all have to
Mhm,
get out. Everybody
mhm.
doesn't have to come along for the ride. That's what I say. Like, like you said, the whole driving the bus. Well, if you're the driver, you've been spending most of your life in the back seat because
Yeah.
everybody else has been, you know what I mean, directing you or this, that, and the
You
other.
you
Well,
get
when
to
you decide to
decide.
drive, it's like, look, you don't have to go with me.
Mm, mm. You can there's a bus stop. You can stop right there. I'm glad to stop for you.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. Because this train or this bus is continuing on its path. Now, if you don't want to ride to the end, you don't have to ride to the end.
And there's no judgment. There's
There's
no
no judgment.
judgment.
It's really not.
There's
Yes.
no hard feelings. I
No.
want you to drive your own bus. Like I want you
Exactly.
to live your own life. And if I have to model what it looks like
Yes.
to set the direction
Hmm.
and invite people to get off the bus, I'm happy to do that.
Yes.
I'm happy to do that.
Yes. I think a lot of women don't realize that when you take these steps, like you taking your step or me taking my step, we inspire women
Mm.
to get out of like whatever the path they
Yeah.
want. Like, and it's crazy because you're not doing it. I always say this, like for me, I didn't start to change my life to change other people's lives.
I'm
But
just living.
I'm just living. But in that, in living, like you said, the whole picture, starting to live that, you start to inspire other women to do the same. It gives them, it's like giving them permission that they didn't know they didn't really need the permission, but if they were seeking it, you're like modeling it through, like you said, modeling, you're
Yeah.
giving them the permission to do that just by the sheer fact of you working on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm like, come on. The water is warm. It is lovely. Jump on in. Like, let's frolic together. Because this is how I want to live and how I want to go out. Like I want to feel like I lived, and
Yes.
I get to 80 or 90 and I'm like, whew, that was a party. I
That
had
was,
a
and
good
that's the
time.
thing. You know what? I tell people, I honestly tell people, I like to use the art of storytelling for my own life. I want my story to read like a book I want to read. I want to be very
Mhm.
interested in it. I want to see the twists and turns. I
Mhm.
want to be
Mhm.
like, oh, this is a page turner, girl. I didn't know that
Mhm.
was going to happen next. But I'm
Mhm.
here for
Mhm.
all of it. I'm here for
But
all of
that
it.
also means you have to embrace the twists and turns.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Because nobody likes a flat story. Like, oh yeah, everything was lovely. This is great. We're just like, no, we want to sit up and look at the screen like, oh, what's she gonna do next?
But
How
what's
did
going
that?
to be,
How did
oh,
that happen?
and,
I
and
can't believe that happened in the book. Like all of that, right? Like we want all of that.
all of it, all of it. And like to the point that when something seems, I don't say problems, something seems challenging or there's a change in the wind, I try to look at it as if I were the character in the book, which I am the main character, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I am the main character. If
Mm-hmm.
I was reading about her, I bet I'd bet on her at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, she gonna be okay.
Because look at all the places you've been. Look at all the places you've been.
Yes. I'm like, I'll bet on her. I bet she gonna make it through. I see this. I see, but it's gonna be okay because
And you not only do you bet on her, but you root for her.
yes, yes.
Right? You root for her. And I wonder sometimes what would it be like to root for ourselves in the way that we would
Oh
a
yeah.
character who we love.
And that's the thing. That's why I have to, for me, that's my visualization is because I'm like, this life is a story. I'm the main character. And I'm like, there are times where I can watch and I'll be like, oh, I can feel the emotion because maybe there's, times where I'm not feeling the joy. Maybe I do have times of sadness, grief, those types of things, but they're all part of a larger story.
Yep.
They're not that's not just my story, right?
Yeah.
That day or that season, that's just not the only part of my story.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
I know I'm supposed to be the one.
This is a conversation, a two-way.
Yeah. You talk about this like you are the main character of your story. And I think that is probably the place where some people are stuck. How did you begin to see yourself as the main character of your story?
It was honestly through a lot of that reading and starting to shed what
Mm,
the other voices were. I
mm,
didn't, and honestly, I didn't realize the voices were there
mm,
and that they were so prevalent.
mm,
And once I started to read different types of books and material and content to kind of awaken my mind to explore myself, like give me the permission to be like, you know what, it's okay to question that. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you don't love your parents because you question, you know what I mean? That things that
mhm,
they were given, that they gave you. It
mhm,
doesn't mean that you're a bad person. What it means is it's time in this space for you to start asking questions and taking inventory and decide what really are parts of you.
Yeah.
And I can keep some things and I can give them away. So it was really it took some years. I'm not saying this is an overnight process. And honestly, I feel like your personal growth and like that shedding and rebuilding is an always process. That,
Mhm,
that is
mhm,
that is just
mhm,
life. So when it started, it was like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was like fighting to dig up so much. And see, you have like the bus analogy for us as far as like our path. For me, I feel like it's like building a house. Okay. I
mhm,
come into a neighborhood and there is a beautiful old home, fully finished and all of that. I want to build a new house. Okay, well, I'm going to have to tear that old house down. I'm going to have to dig out the foundation, right? there's cracks in the foundation, all types
Yes.
of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I want to build a brand new house with a new foundation. All of that other stuff has to go. Now, I may like the, you know, flooring from the last house. I may like other things that I might want to keep, but I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to dig down into the foundation, dig all that up and plant a new foundation. And then I can build up from there, but you have to start at ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. So for me, it was a process. It's always a process. I tell people I'm a work in progress always.
All the time. All the time.
Always.
And
And
what I love about that is then why not start wherever you are, right? Like you have to start somewhere, right? You can't begrudge that you're starting at a certain age or that you wish you had known earlier. It's like you
that,
walk into the house now,
yeah,
start demolishing now so that you can start clearing the land, so that you can start laying the foundation for how you mean to be.
exactly. Exactly. There's definitely no time limit on it. I think, you know, a lot of times on my channel, I do focus for women who are over 40 because in my personal life and through the relationships I've had, by that time, at least in my generation,
You keep saying on my generation, I'm 46.
I'd be like, girl, she a young, she just,
I'm 46. No, I'm just listen. I just got a young face. I got a little focus.
right?
Don't worry about that right now. But I
Like,
just listen.
she over here, she in a whole different generation, girl.
No, I'm not. Thank you very much. Okay, carry on.
Yes, by the time we reach 40 or approaching that age, we've lived enough of somebody else's life to be able to do that assessment. Prior to that, and not that you can't do it earlier, prior to that, I think you're still in that kind of like groove, right? You know what I mean? You're still getting those impressions, to be honest. Like if you're still going to college and things like that, you're still getting impressions, right? You're still feeding them. By the time you get to 40, you start to be like,
This don't fit.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on, but something is off.
Yep.
Type thing. So that's why I focus on that part of your life, because I feel like you have to have enough of the prior life experience to be able to have something to work through and to kind of bridge to the next phase. That's all.
Okay.
So that's why, I mean, you know, hey, you could be whatever age. Have you ever gotten to the point? It's so funny because I do talk like generationally because I'm trying to focus on phases, right?
On your particular age group.
But at the same time, the older I get, the more I forget how old I am. My age is like, I only know.
It's like a non-thing. It's like a
It's not a
non-thing.
thing. When you are so focused on, like you said, living life and all of these changes, age has like nothing, like you forget. That's what I mean by I forget. Like I completely forget I'm 50. I only know I'm 50 because it's a milestone that other people celebrate so much, right?
Yep.
But I don't have an attachment to it like I'm supposed to feel a certain kind of way, or I'm supposed to act a certain kind of way.
But I think that's that whole like letting go of the expectations, right? Like, oh, I think 50 is supposed to feel like this, or by this age, I'm supposed to have done this, and I'm supposed to have.
Exactly.
If I'm not preoccupied with that and I'm just living and being present to this moment and what is, I don't feel my age. I'm just living.
Yeah, but what does that mean? Like you said, what does that mean to feel your age? Like, what are you supposed to be doing?
I don't know, because I don't know.
What are you supposed to be doing at 46? Are you supposed to move abroad? Did you check?
Probably not.
To see
I didn't check the book and go, okay, 46. Here's the checklist for 46. But you know, I think some of us inherited checklists.
Yes, we did,
because they were supposed to be signs of having made it.
Exactly.
Like, you've made it when you've done these things.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't have a checklist. The only checklist I have is the one that I sat down and dreamed up for myself.
Exactly.
And even that is like, oh, what feels aligned for me now?
Exactly. But I think one of the things we have in common in different ways is that I didn't reach the mountaintop corporate wise, I would say. And I feel like you did, and to be honest, also my husband has, right? For me, it was the house with the kids, the great mom, you know what I mean? Like being the great mom, tennis family, all that, right? That picture.
The
In
picture
all of
perfect,
that,
picture perfect, picture of success.
a picture of success, middle class neighborhood, all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff, right? In that, you get to a point you still are like, hmm,
That's it.
is this, I did all this, right, to get what?
Here?
Like here? Is this the and my husband is the same way. I when I talk to him, because we talk a lot about this as we embark on our journey to move overseas, that so we could be neighbors, we talk about that. Once you do all these things, you get up there and you be like, it can be a disappointment, right?
I
We
have
can
I
be
have a
disappointed.
I call it the false peak of success.
Yeah.
We spend our lives, like, scaling up the mountain because we think when we hit the flag at the top of the
Mhm.
mountain, like, that's it. And then we
Yes.
get up there, we're like, "This there's nothing up here but more of the same. Is this what
Exactly.
I want? Is this?"
Exactly.
And I think many of us don't want that. Like, whatever the success that we've been told
Yes.
we
Yes.
should want,
Hmm.
no, I actually don't. Like, I don't want to be the person who, like, reaches the top and settles down.
Exactly.
Because as long as I'm alive, I'm growing. That means I still have something to contribute. That means there's still
Exactly.
something for me to experience. I'd much rather
Exactly.
enjoy that and keep growing.
Yes. Yes. And I think back to, there is a spiritual teacher. His name is Michael Beckwith, and he has a and I love him. And then there's also Miles Monroe, who's not with us anymore. He used to have a beautiful saying that, the going and seeing the cemetery was just like the saddest thing to see, and not because people had transgressed or transitioned into another life.
All
It's that
again.
all that potential is
Mhm,
still left in them.
mhm.
It's
Not
still
me.
not
Not
me.
me. When I go, I'm gonna be used up. I'm like, "Woo." She used every ounce of what she was given. She
Exactly.
filled every corner of, yeah.
Yeah, I want to feel, actually I hope to be blessed to feel so tired from so much that I've
Yeah.
experienced and give to others, that I'm like, ooh, okay, child, I'm gonna have to see y'all on the other side.
I'm good. Y'all have fun. It's like I don't really go party because I'm like, I'm going to bed. But, like, it's like that, y'all have fun. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go on home now.
Yes.
This was good. This was
It's
good.
like, this is a good, like, and no regrets. No regrets. I mean, I feel like now the only regrets that I have are when I didn't say yes.
Mm,
That,
mhm.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm just being honest, like, and
Yeah.
and that's even at this age. So moving into the next season, now it's the saying
Yes
yes
season.
more to things. And of course, there's always a discussion, and we're honing in more on mental health now, and like the setting boundaries and things like that. And yes, you do have to set boundaries, but at the same time, it's how you look at things. So for me, if I'm not necessarily telling you no, I'm telling myself yes.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm,
so I
mhm,
keep it from
mhm.
the standpoint of the positive.
Yeah.
I am telling myself yes.
I'm leaving space for the yes. I'm leaving space for what I really want. Even
Yes.
if I don't have anything else in mind right now,
Mhm.
I'm just leaving space for
You're
me.
leaving space for it. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're leaving space for it. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. Do you want to tell us about the being new on the ground and being an expat? The good thing is you didn't have the long list of expectations that everyone else
Yeah.
typically has. So in that, I'm sure your experience has been
Yeah,
everything.
it's been 6 weeks, I think. I think we might have just hit the 4-week mark. I don't know because 'cause I'm not keeping track of time. I'm just here.
You're like, I'm just here. I'm just here. So
I'm just here. Um, and I think so we moved to Lisbon from Houston, sight unseen, and I have 2 children and a partner, and a dog who's, like, with us. So, like, we made a real move. It was not
yes,
a, like, we sold most of the stuff in our apartment. We got a really small storage for the things that we were meaning to ship. So we like did the thing. Like, it
yes,
wasn't a, I don't know. It wasn't a taste test. It was like, we're going.
You did it all. And look, and I don't think shared this with you, that I was so sad when I went into your Facebook page. This is after we had brunch. And I go to your Facebook page and she'd been selling off stuff. And I'm like, I could have bought that bike. I'm still here. And you said, I'm like, I could have bought that. I didn't even know.
We were just like,
but y'all were like, yeah,
we just done. And I think when we came largely because it was like the quality of life we were looking for, like the pace of life. We are not hustle people. We don't subscribe to that. We don't live that way. And so, and we do fine in Houston. We did fine. It wasn't like we were running from something. And I think it's really important to not be running from.
Okay. Yes.
But to be walking towards possibility. And so I think a year ago, I sat down with my two sisters. I'm the oldest of three girls.
Okay.
Like 365 days from now, I'm planning to be gone. And I want you all to give you all the heads up. So you have 365 days to wrap your heads around the possibility that I will not be here.
Get your mind right.
Get your mind right. Just and I think the idea was twofold. One, to opt out of that. Like, there's just a lot going on in the States, and I'm like, I don't have to be here. Like, I can try something else out. And then I think the second thing was, I want my kids to know that the world doesn't revolve around. This is him taking he's like trying to be all sneaky. Take the dog out. The world doesn't revolve around the dog.
Hey, everyday life is still happening.
Real life.
This is real life.
I think I wanted my kids to know that the world didn't revolve around the States, like that the world is vast and there's so much to see and do. And so this felt like a introduction to that.
Yes.
I wanted them to like play street ball with kids who don't speak the language and to learn what that feels like and to just be a part of a community and then to experience Europe and all of that. And I was like, why not? Like, why not do that?
Why not?
And it's been a journey. Like, we all navigate change differently. Like, my change tolerance is super high.
I can tell.
Super high. My husband's is not as high as mine, but it's close. And then I have an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, and their change tolerance is like still growing.
It's still growing. That's the thing.
It's still growing. Yeah, but that's part of my job as a parent, is to help build that skill, right? So I can't keep them in the same space. Like, I can't make them so comfortable that they never build the skill to navigate change.
That right there. Because I think a lot of parents do, like you said, they worry about the transition for children. Like, oh my God. Because they're already set, like they're in a school, they have friends, this, that, and the other.
All of that. My kids, I think it's so important to know that everybody's tolerance for change is different, right? Like, my son tolerated the change on the front end really well. He was like, oh, it's happening. It's fine, whatever.
Okay.
My daughter had big feelings. Like, she just had, and I never tried to talk her out of those feelings.
Okay.
I never made her feel but like, there were times when like she and I would just be in the shower and she just like be hugging up on me and she just was having her feelings. And I'm like, it's okay to feel however you were feeling. Like, that's part of change. It's okay to feel sad. It makes sense that you feel like you're going to miss your friends. And I have friends all over the world, and we get to stay friends. So know that like part of this experience is strengthening your friendship, right? Like, but it's really like coaching your kids through the skill building that's required to navigate change. So when something happens 10 years from now or 20 years from now, she's got that muscle for that.
She has that. But you see how you allow that for her? Why can't we allow that for ourselves? Why can't I like be okay with the fact that one day I'm really, really like feeling, am I making the right decision by selling this house, girl? Like, what are you doing? Is it okay for me to feel that way for a little while
And
and
to
then
just
come out of
feel it.
it. Yeah.
To feel it. Like just to not interpret. Like if we can stay out of the interpretation of the
Yes.
thing, like to
Yes.
just, oh, of course I'm sad selling this house. Of course I'm scared moving to another country that I've never been to.
Exactly.
Of course I'm nervous. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and it's okay. And it doesn't mean don't move.
Yeah, it just means you're having feelings, like you're a human being. You get to have feelings, like
Congratulations.
yeah. But I think we're so careful or almost like scared of feelings, right? Like if I
Mhm.
have feelings, I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just have them.
Hmm.
Just have them.
Yes. And believe it or not, they're like other things. Emotions do pass. They come. They're like clouds, right? They're like clouds.
Look, look, you said they're like close. I'm always like they're like toddlers. Like I think emotions are like toddlers.
Hmm.
And just like toddlers, if you don't listen to them or if you try to squash them,
Yes,
they act out. They
they
get loud
do.
and they throw tantrums. If you just say, "Okay, I hear you. I
Hmm.
understand that you're nervous. Mommy will hold your hand and we'll do it together." What happens
Hmm.
to the kids? They calm down. They're like, "Okay."
Right.
Emotions are like that. I'm like, "Oh, I'm scared." "Oh, okay. I Of course you're scared." But
Yes.
we can be scared and we can move forward. We'll do it together. We'll figure it out. We
We'll
figured out
figure
all
it
the
out.
other times when we've been scared, all
Yes.
the other times when we didn't know what we were doing. We made it. So we'll be
Yes. We made
fine.
it through. Yeah. It's like it's the child version of ourselves. The
Yeah.
child version
Yeah.
of ourselves. Still gets scared. Still wants to act out. Still get angry. Do other stuff. Like,
We think we're supposed to outgrow that. Like
no.
we like when you get to be 35 or whatever, I don't know why these feelings because you're human. Hello.
Exactly.
You just get to have feelings. You're gonna have them until you aren't here
Yes.
anymore. So make friends with them. Make friends.
Exactly. Make friends with them. Yes. Be okay with it. Be okay with it.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm glad everybody is like settling in. Are you finding community there so far? Or like,
N-
what are you?
Not yet. And I think that's where I'm growing. Like I
Okay.
am more introvert by nature. Like I'm so happy to be in my house with my little family unit. I don't need to go outside. I like to go outside, but I don't need to I don't do this is gonna sound so wrong because it's not actually, but like this is my growth area. Okay. So like
Okay.
I
Yes,
don't
we're all growing.
yeah, I don't do like superficial interactions. Like I really like to find my people
Yes.
and be with my people. But you
Yes.
can't find your people until you go outside and meet people. So this is I was like,
It's, yeah, it
that's
kind of works a
another
certain kind of way. You got to go outside and talk to people to meet
I
your people.
know. And I'm just like, mm, mm. So that's part of the way that I'm growing and being here is
Yes.
I've met a couple people and the people that I've met, I'm like, oh, this is great. Like we are aligned. We speak the
Yes.
same language. We've been to coffee. I was like, okay. I don't need a lot of people. I just need my people.
Well, and that's the thing. We don't need a lot of people. Now, I would say I am probably
I was like, don't even 100%, 100% you are. Yes, carry on. You're 100%
probably an extrovert, but I do appreciate my own space. So in that, I can be the person that you meet at brunch, but I can also be the person that will sit in this house by themselves all day and enjoy my own company and don't have to talk to anybody. Like
For
I
how
can,
long?
oh, for a really long time. I can solo travel. Not granted, I solo travel and I always tell
And then
people,
you meet people all the way, just
yeah,
picking
yeah,
people
by
up
the
on the
time
way.
I come back, like my phone is full. My phone is like
Exactly. Like,
full
yeah,
of
exactly.
like, I'm
But
in
see, I
every
don't have
chat.
that. I don't have that. I don't have that bond. I'm like, I will solo travel and just be by myself.
And be by yourself and
And
don't talk to
maybe
nobody.
well,
Okay.
no, I will probably meet like I will scout other people who are like me. Like
Yes.
we're just hanging, and I'm like, oh, my people. You really don't want to be outside, but you want to be outside a little
Because
bit.
you want to be outside.
Just a little bit. I was like, oh, y'all are my people. I
But
can
see,
spot them.
but that's the thing. Okay. And also, I think part of my growth has been I was an extrovert by not necessarily by nature, but
Mm,
because it was seen as beneficial when I was
mm.
young.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Okay.
makes sense. That makes sense.
Right. Okay. Think about like you're going to go to college, you're going to all that, right? This whole network building or whatever.
Mhm.
on the back end, right? So, but I was still insecure with myself. Now I'm extrovert for a different reason because I operate on the premise that every single person I see, I have something in common with. I just
Mm,
find out what it is.
mm,
And
mm.
so it's become where I can build a connection because I'm secure in me. I'm not trying to like have you give me stuff or what, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
me. But every person I see, I'd be like, I talked to you long enough. I bet you we have something in common. And
Mm.
it's always true. It has always, it doesn't matter if the person looks like somebody I would have nothing in common with.
Well,
You
that I
know?
mean, that's like the interconnectedness of humanity, right?
Yes.
Like, we are
Yes.
all cut from the same cloth. We're just cut from
Exactly.
different parts of the cloth. So you're like, ooh, what part are you cut from? Like, I think, like, I hear that.
And that's the
Yeah,
curiosity, but I didn't have that until I was sure of myself.
yeah, yeah.
Before it was very much like, because you're so worried about, at least for me, I was so worried about like people judging me or how people
Mm.
perceive me. But when I'm secure in myself and I'm a whole person and I allow myself to make mistakes or whatever, learn and things like that. And when you have that curiosity, I am now more curious about people. I know people that are like, I don't like people. And I'm like, I hear you. But for me, I'm like, I am curious about myself and others. I
Yeah.
moved to a different space where I'm like, hmm,
Hmm.
you may have something going on, but I'm kind of it has made me curious because I can listen and be an observer.
Hmm.
You don't
And
I
not,
don't have
not,
to I don't have to
not
take it on. I don't
feel
have to
like,
take it on.
yeah, and not feel like you are gonna be swallowed whole by somebody else, or you're
That.
gonna be like, yeah.
So, but I had to get to this point because my relationships in the past, and I think that's what you mean about like that whole superficialness. I was an extrovert, but there could have been a lot of, relationships that were on the superficial level
Yes.
because there wasn't a deeper connection because I was more worried about like your perception of
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, how are you viewing me? And that's why I'm operating in a certain way.
Yeah. And I can't. I'm just like, well,
Mm-mm.
I have my lane. You
Yeah.
have your lane. Like, we're
Yeah.
just all, and that curiosity,
Hmm.
like, that really appeals to me.
Yeah.
But I think I can, like, when I walk into a space and I see like the jockeying for position, I'm like, I'm going
You're
home.
like, I'm not going to be bothered.
I'm not.
And you don't have to, and that's the thing, you don't have to participate in it. It's kind of like,
Mhm.
it's one of those, I feel like the more you work on yourself, right, the more you become an observer. And even though I feel like I tell other people, I feel like I talk a whole lot. I try not to talk a lot, but y'all make me talk a lot.
I have stuff to say. What is it?
Y'all make me talk a lot because we
Well,
get
look, we need y'all talkers, because us non-talking people are like, well, come, welcome us to the table. Like, that's what this
we
space is.
do.
Like, this space is like welcoming us, the non-talking versions of us, and talking versions, to the table, right? Because otherwise, I would be.
You say otherwise, I just be you like table for one, please over here in
Let
the
me
back.
drink. I'm gonna sit back with my notebook and my
Mm-mm.
quite happy.
And you'd be just so happy, and then Jenée show up and be like, "Oh, I see the sister sitting in over here by herself. Let me go
What
interrupt
you
her
doing?
time."
How you doing? And I could be warm. Like, I think when I come across people who have that wholeness,
Mhm.
or who are like building it.
Yes.
When I
Yes.
when I come across those people, I'm like, oh, you're my people.
Yeah.
That's the only filter. Like, no song, no dance, no hoops.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Well, thank you for allowing me to be myself. To be myself with you. Yes.
Which, here's the thing. Here's my role. Like, when people cross my path, I know they're assigned to me.
Yeah.
Like, by the time they get to me, I'm like, oh, we were supposed to meet. So now I'm like, oh, let's figure out why.
It's
Like,
there, but see, that's what I'm talking about. Like that innate curiosity. But I think we have to build up that curiosity. I mean, I feel like I had to, as far as why, why did I meet AISHA? Like, we're gonna figure it out, but what am I to learn from her? Like, I do look at it as like every person I'm connecting with, like
is
you
a part of
said,
your journey.
there is something for me.
Mm-hmm,
There is something I'm supposed to give.
mm-hmm, 100%.
So
100%. But I think that's really like that is the same mindset
Hmm.
that allows us to think about going someplace else. It's like everything that I'm experiencing in my life is a
Hmm.
part of my curation. Like it's a part of my journey. It is meant.
Hmm.
And so when you meet somebody, you're like, ooh, let's see how you fit in. Like, let's see how this is. I don't know. Like who knows, right? Like it could be this conversation. It could be something 2 years from now. We just have no
We
idea.
have no
But because
idea.
we believe that all of those pieces are working,
Yes.
we're
Yes.
like looking for how they work.
Hmm. That is so true. That is so true. You don't have to, don't try to figure it out. Don't.
Hmm. I'm just like waiting for it to unfold. I'm like, "Ooh, let's see what happens." I don't know why I'm in Lisbon.
Right.
I have no idea. Like it could be because my daughter is at this great stable with horse riding. Like maybe there's something she needs to be here for that
Exactly.
has nothing to do with me, but has everything to do with her.
It's
I'm like,
everything to do with her.
I can't wait to find out.
But like you said, like I said, it's like a story. You'd be like, oh, plot twist, plot twist. So yes, yes. So I would say this. I would say that in continuing to do what you're doing, there's no way that you cannot affect the people you interact with. And that's what I try to tell people. I'm like, look, you don't understand. You may think you don't have any influence on those that you come in contact. Like people really do. We inherently think that we're so separate, right? That we have no influence on other people. We really do. We have that separation is vast, right?
Yeah. Or so we think.
So we think. So
But
we
it's not
think. So if
just
you have to be the first, if you have to step outside the lines, whatever those lines are, erase them. If you have to do that,
just do you, right?
yeah.
Like really, like I'll give you an example. My youngest sister is hosting Thanksgiving this year.
Okay. Okay.
And typically, like I was hosting Thanksgiving or something, and it dawned on me all of the things that are possible now because I have moved out of the way,
Ooh. Yes.
right? Like there's
Yes.
something to be said about letting go so somebody else has room to grow. And I think we miss that, right?
Ooh, we don't even think about that.
When I left my role at the nonprofit,
Yeah.
I was giddy. I was giddy at who would fill my seat. I was giddy at what they could do
Yes.
in that position
Yes.
next. And I
Yes.
was like, if I stay here, I am getting in the way of somebody else's work.
Okay,
And
you're gonna have us all moving because it's like I'm gonna move out the way and let
for
somebody else
somebody else's work. For somebody
enjoy
else's
this
work.
experience. Exactly. Claim this. This is for somebody else now. My time with it is
It's
over.
done. It's done. It was a beautiful ride.
Exactly.
Here's all that I've learned that I'm
Yes.
taking with me.
Yes.
Let me clean this up so the next person who comes in, and I'm not going to leave anything back because I want them to come in and use their own creative skills, their
Exactly.
own imagination to make it
Exactly.
theirs.
Clean slate.
Clean
So
slate,
they can have a clean slate.
clean slate.
Oh, I love that. That is Aisha. That alone on the like, if you're on the fence of like making a large move in life, that alone is like, that's an aha moment. Let me leave this space for somebody else.
Somebody else.
Let me vacate this space and move on and leave it for someone else.
Somebody else. Because it's not mine anymore. I mean, imagine if we approached our relationships that way.
Oh, you just solved everything. Okay.
That's a wrap. We're done here now.
Solved everything. It's just, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So I think I was going to ask you if you had any, I don't know, recommendations for women to, like we said, move into a more flexible mindset
Mm.
of what their life can look like. But I was going to ask you that, but I feel like we've kind of been talking about you've given a lot of tips to women just in your own story.
So I'm going to share a book recommendation, because if I don't do anything, I'm always going to share a book recommendation.
We will take them all. We will take them all.
I'm the only one, even though I have a whole stack of books. We're not going to go through that.
Yes.
I read The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer.
Okay.
And it was so good. It is really about getting into this place of surrender, where you trust that what is happening is all meant.
Yes.
And even when it feels uncomfortable and it feels different and unfamiliar, how to not get in your own way.
Okay. Yes.
Right. And I think, like, for those of us who have been on the earth for a while, we think things are supposed to go just so. And we've learned how to be brilliant at putting the guardrails up and making sure everything stays kind of within the line. And then when something comes and an opportunity presents itself for us to get outside of the lines, we're like, no, get back in. And I think this book is just a brilliant, like, unfolding of what it can look like.
Yes.
When we allow things, when we respond to things that present themselves and go and ask ourselves, like, what's the opportunity in this for me?
Exactly. It's that right there. Now I have not read the book. On my list now. I think it resonates with me because I tell people all the time that no matter what I'm going through, I always remind myself that everything happens to me for a good reason.
For me.
It's for like, me. This is for
me. It is in service of my gift. This is in service of my gift. So I'm like, use me, like, make it plain.
Exactly. And to look at it. And I'm usually like, even right now, I'd say in the space that I'm in now is I ask the question like, what am I being given the space to do right now? Like I'm asking, like, I may not know the answer, but I'm asking the question so that I will be brought clues to what that answer is. And like you said, in that is surrender of, like, I'm saying I don't know, and I'm open. And I'm open. But I know, but I trust enough to know if I ask the question, the answer is going to come.
But you have to ask the question.
You have to ask the question. And not the question of why me. You're like,
sorry. I'm like, because you were chosen. That's why. You're chosen.
Not the question of why me, but at this time, like, what am I given the space to do? Like, give me some clue. Okay, well, I'm gonna keep going down this path. This seems like it's working. Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe I am. Maybe this is the new path. I don't know. I'm gonna just keep going. I'm gonna
just keep my eyes open. Like, show me.
Yes.
Show me.
Yes. So be on the lookout. But I think I'm going to have to read that book because it really resonates with me with the whole surrendering and
the surrender experiment.
The surrender experiment. I will make sure.
I'm surprised I don't have it by my desk, because it's like one that I come back to. I just pick it up and I open it up and I'm like, what's in it for me?
I have a few. I call, whenever it's a book like that where you keep it and you come back to it, I call it reference material. So I have quite a few books that are the same, where I've read them. I've read them many times, but I call it reference material. Just like back in school, like, go back. Let me.
Like old school encyclopedias. Like, this is the one where you go to when you want to find the information.
Go and do this.
Okay, but you have to tell me. You have to tell me one of your reference books.
Oh, A New Earth. A New Earth. You haven't read that? Oh, I know you've read The Power of Now, right?
I have not.
I thought you did. I thought it was on. I feel like I saw it was on your list or something.
That was on my list. My husband has read it, and I feel like I've got all the cliff notes. Like, he's like, oh, let me tell you. Because it goes along with, like, the 4 agreements. I like the 5th agreement most. That's my favorite of them.
Okay, see, and I have not done the 5th agreement, but the 4th agreements is one of my books that I said, if you don't read anything else, If
Mhm.
you can read it and implement it, good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck. I'm like, I still have my book kind of folded on a certain page. I'm like, I'm still working on this part right here.
I'm still working.
I
Like,
haven't got past this part. This is
daily reminder, I'm like, this is, if you can do the 4 agreements consistently, girl,
elevate
that's
your
work.
life. You're like on next level.
You
Next level. You
so
just, yeah.
you just, yeah. But if even if you haven't read The Power of Now, I actually like A New Earth better,
Okay.
but yes, but definitely the 4 agreements. I will read the 5th agreement. I've read quite a few of Brene Brown's books. I really love Atlas of the Heart, just because to put verbiage to emotions and how we feel, I'm like, oh my God, like that emotion is the tip of the iceberg. And what does it really mean?
What's underneath there?
What's underneath it? I'm like, so anyway, lots of books. I feel like we will talk. We
We
will.
could have a whole book chapter.
Yes. But like, I want to go back to your surrender thing. And this is another reason why I like that idea is recently I was reading a book and I can't, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life.
I haven't read that one, but it sounds right.
Okay, so it's a daily practice where they go through a certain. It's not a scripture. It's a ancient, and I'm terrible because I don't have it with me. Most of my books are audio. Anyway, there's a daily practice that goes on. They may tell you a specific thing that you should work on. Let's say, like in the 4 agreements, how they have agreement 1. It would give you that agreement, and then it would say, this is how you implement it today. Like, let me give you some ideas on how to work on that today. I just gave you something. Let me give you a few ideas of how to implement so you can practice, right? One of them I just read had to do with surrender. And one of the suggestions, this is going to be hard for me, but I'm going to try it, is next time you do a trip is for you to only plan only the necessities, your flight there, the hotel, like the bare minimum, and to see what happens. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do it.
I was like, that's like me all the time.
And so you do that, but you remember,
You're the planner. You're the
I am the planner, and so planning is like my life and my job. So for me,
you have experienced surrender, like your bus trip in Mexico.
Yes,
that was like, oh,
but I was so low. I was so low.
So what does that mean? That means you have experience, like just like my change tolerance is high, and I brought the whole crew with me.
Yes,
your surrender skill, it's just like, oh, it's a little bit more advanced, and I'm gonna keep building that muscle.
So that's how I should look at it: is building
the
muscle.
Everything is building muscle. Yeah, just like, oh, I'm building my surrender muscle.
Okay.
And she's like, yeah, we'll see.
We're gonna see. If I were going by myself, I would totally do it. I would honestly buy one way and get my house sits and just fill in the blanks. I would do that.
So why does somebody coming with you change that?
Because I still include my husband's expectations of how the trip will run. I want them to get out of it is what they can get out of it too. So it's like not just building my surrender, it's managing someone else's levels as well. So you've had that with family, but remember.
No, I get it. I'm grinning because I have a retreat coming up. And I've been really struggling with the agenda for the retreat because I'm like, I'm not feeling.
You're not feeling, any particular. Yeah.
And so when I asked you, like, why does bring other people? And you said, oh, you're almost like carrying others' expectations or what you think others' expectations are.
Oh, I know what they are.
Okay, well, then,
but we're going to keep going. Continue.
Yeah, no, but for me, it was like, I think I'm carrying what I think others' expectations are.
Yes.
And what I realized in listening to you was that, like, oh, well, then if that's the case, there are one of two things I can do. I can either get clear on those expectations, like tell me what those expectations are, or I can be clear about what they can expect.
Right.
right? Like, and
Yes.
so, and then that way it keeps us out of that like overperforming
Mm-hmm.
or that like filling the gap of the unknown
Mm-hmm.
with clarity. Like,
With
oh, this is
clarity.
the place where I'm unclear. Once I
Yes.
get clear on this, then I can move forward with intention and clarity versus being up here and doing all the things and being nervous about
Yes.
it. And I'm like, mm-mm. So thank you. I appreciate you answering that question because it was very helpful for me.
I'm basically a
Thank
case study when it comes to
I
that because
appreciate that.
because I
It's
would
very
definitely
helpful.
I'm gonna try my hardest. So I think what I will do in order to, like you said, build that muscle. I have a lot more of, like you said, the surrender when it's just me. Like whatever
Mm.
happens, happens, and it's all been fabulous, right? Literally, it's all
Mm.
been fabulous. But because there are multiple things that need to be accomplished in the trip and multiple expectations coming together, I think I'm going to do a little bit of both. I'm going to plan
Mm.
some very structured, like what's and then like you said, define, okay, these 3 weeks are going to be the, we don't know.
Well, and it's totally okay to say, I'm trying something new.
And that's what I mean, like some
I'm
of the
trying
like
something
baseline,
new.
some baseline, right?
Mhm.
You know what to expect, this is regular, been here before, that type of thing, and then a few weeks of like,
We're
hey.
gonna try it and see what happens. And we've been together. We've written some things, so the wheels are falling off. We'll be fine. We will figure it out. Let's just try it and see.
We'll just try it and see. We'll try it and see. And if you try it and you don't like it, you just try something else. That's what I always say. I'm like, if you try it, it's just like, I don't know, getting a bag of chips and you try a new brand and you be like, I don't like
I
it.
don't
Let me
like
get another
those. Get some more. It's fine.
It's
If
fine.
only,
It's
if
fine.
only everything, if we approach everything like picking a bag of chips, like, oh,
But you know what? This is one of the things I don't think I didn't get to share with you at our brunch was that what I love is that you, in the move that you made, you are reinforcing my personal feeling that we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously. You know what I mean? Like we take things really, 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 and I feel like we magnify it. Like, I don't know, like something happens. Like, prime example, I make the decision to move abroad. My husband and I sell our house.
mhm.
Our mind goes to, oh my gosh, if we make the wrong decision, we're going to be homeless. We're not going to be homeless.
You're just gonna get an apartment.
We're going to get it.
And you'll go to the furniture store and you'll buy furniture and you'll be like, "Ooh, we tried that and it was crazy."
And it
But
was
here's what we
crazy.
learned. We actually needed new furniture anyway. We
Right.
downsized and realized we like this a little bit better.
And I think, but it's that like not taking it so, like what I hear from you and your move is like, girl, like you, just like you were telling me, you making it hard when when it comes to the visa and stuff. You're like, it's seriously, you are making it harder than, and I love
Checklist. Here's the check. You have a checklist. Just do the things on the checklist.
right.
There's no.
Just don't think about it. Just
And let me tell you, so when we rented a place that was like fully furnished,
yeah.
um, and we had it through April. And last week or a couple of weeks ago, I said to my husband, I was like, we should probably extend it because like, I really like it. It's gonna be nice. So we messaged the people. We're like, okay, we extended. They were like, oh no, somebody else has already rented it for April through July.
Oh, okay.
And at that point, we could have been like, oh my God, what are you gonna do in 400? And I was like, just like we found this one, we'll find another one. We reached out to some people and they were like, oh yeah, the one a few floors up might be open. I was like, see, I think we just forget
Yeah,
that we can do the next thing.
it's true.
So what's the
It's
next
true.
thing? Like, oh, you put on
Yes.
one shoe and then you put on the other one. You do the same thing every day. Just
And that we usually have an infinite amount of options. It's not just like, oh, you couldn't extend it, then there's only one plan B. There's not even like a
I'll
plan
be
B. There's like,
homeless. I'm not gonna know where to be.
no.
And then if it's like we can't find anything, we can't do anything, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna get on a plane and try something else. Like we do, there's an infinite, like to your point, there's an
You may
infinite.
not even have to get on it, but that's what I'm saying. You say infinite, there's infinite answers to the
Yeah.
question. It's not and that's the other thing is like, there are no problems. I'm sure you've heard this. There are no
Mhm.
problems. There's only decisions to be made.
Mhm. That's it.
So you can extend your apartment. That's not a problem. It's a decision. That just means you need to make a decision. You're going to find some place there. You're going to get on a look. You may not even have to fly. You want to try Porto and live in Porto for a little while? Y'all go up there. Whatever.
My brain can't even conceive of
No.
all of the possibilities that exist.
No.
So I'm just gonna pick one. And I feel like it's like shuffling a card deck. You should pick a card. Just pick another one.
You'd be like, how many options do you have? You'd be like, oh, I'm out. I don't know. There's so many. I can't even think of them all. So yes, that's the allowing that flexibility and the not taking it so serious.
But how expansive is that? Like when you think about like how much possibility actually exists.
That is a wow. And we can't comprehend it. So we don't even let ourselves like, here's the barrel. We don't even like step this much because we definitely can't comprehend this.
Look, I'm not trying to comprehend all this out here. I'm just like, even this part right here, this is amazing.
You're like, this is amazing.
This is great.
You're like, I can work with this. Look, I can work with all this. This is enough. This is enough. This is enough.
So good.
Yes.
So good.
Yes. So what is on the agenda for your next thing? Like you said, you have a retreat coming up.
I have a retreat coming up in January.
Okay.
I have two types of retreats. I have one retreat for people who are navigating the shift. Like they know something is coming and they really want to be intentional about how they navigate that shift and do it in community.
Mm-hmm.
But this retreat I'm hosting in January is called the Garden Club, and it is for business owners specifically and C-suite women. So you're like C-suite or like business owners who are trying to make sustainability a way of their life. Like you've built the business, you've done all the things, and you've figured out how to be whole into yourself while doing that. And you just want to be in community with others who are living that same way.
Exactly. Right? Yes.
So it's not like it's not coaching. Well, the other one is a coaching container. This one is really like, how do we indulge in our lives? Like, how do we continue to pour into ourselves and indulge in our lives this way?
Yes.
And because it's a different kind of retreat for me, like there's some uncertainty.
Okay.
No, but these people were assigned to me, which means I have everything I need to serve them. So we're gonna indulge. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna figure it out, and that's all I got.
I think we underestimate when you said, you're like, hey, they were assigned to me. I guess I got what it takes. Do you know I do this, and I would say I'm getting much better, is because I don't know my talents, I need to stop selling myself short. We automatically think we don't have what it takes, but we have more than we know we have.
So. Y'all were assigned to me. Y'all signed up. The universe was like, these people need to be with you. And I was like, oh, wait, that means obviously whatever you need from this experience, whether it's through me, whether me getting you here is whatever it is, I don't have to know all that.
No.
I just have to, like, you were assigned to me.
Yes.
That means I have what it takes to serve.
Yes.
And show up. That's the best I can do is show up.
Just show up. Just show up. Just show up. I like that. I like that. Why don't we end our discussion by telling women just to show up in their own lives?
Just show up. Take the stage. Just come on. I mean, the water is amazing. It's amazing out here. Just come on.
Yes, there's plenty of community for you. Plenty of community. So I want to thank AISHA for spending time with me.
This is a blast.
This was fun, and this is the beginning of many conversations. Well, now she knows this will be the beginning of many conversations on and offline.
Oh, I knew when we sat down at breakfast, I was like, oh, we just gonna go and save on our money.
Let me just save. Let's just block some time, and don't let me, when I come to Portugal, my next trip. Like,
I know you better reach out. I mean, like, just even if it's like we just got to get our selfie or something and be like, update, we're still here.
We will do more than that. We will do way more than that. So yes. But thank you for spending time with me today and sharing so much wisdom with women. I love to just bring women that are like going through it, just been through it, like
Just
You're
living,
not,
just
yeah,
doing it.
just living, just like they're already in the path. They're like, come on, there's plenty of room. Y'all come on with it. So yes. So I will see everyone later and look forward to another interview with AISHA in the future. Bye.
Bye.